They drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took them in. Now please stand in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Go Tell It on the Mountain.
So welcome to the Unitarian Church, where I'm just going to lift this to appropriate heights. Or not. Nope. I'm going to just let it stay. Welcome to the Unitarian Church. My name is Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. I'm very pleased to welcome you today. We have a few things going on. First of all, if you are in person, we have a blood drive going on right out here. So if you are eligible and available and the lake agrees, please consider giving blood. During middle hour today, in room 5 will be spiritual practices on joy. In room 6 will be how to build your theological house, correct? Good. And that one is actually sort of one of the best tools to articulate Unitarian Universalism that I have ever experienced. So that is in room 6. In room 7 is the social justice team. That's what's going on during middle hour. A reminder of what is coming up. We have solstice this Friday night. That will be at 7 o'clock. The next Sunday is the impromptu pageant, 9 o'clock and 11:30. Online people, we already gave away the one opportunity for online people to participate in that, but you can still be a part of the worship. And then Christmas Eve, 5 o'clock and 7:30. Both services will kind of be the same, give or take who's here and the music or whatever. We're going to try and stream 5 o'clock unless technology loses, and then we'll go to 7:30. And then the 29th, we're doing our annual Kwanzaa service. This year's service is going to be on the theme of Black entrepreneurship. The last thing we have is the staff got creative. You all like buying presents so much that we decided we should ask for you to buy presents for us, not us, the staff, the church. So the staff got together and brainstormed a wish list of things ranging from $3 pens to $1,000 owls, not the birds, but the little device that you can use do Zoom meetings. Anyway, there's a Christmas tree in the narthex. Allison put it together. Allison, if you're watching, thank you. If you feel extra generous and you want to grab a present and give it to the church, you're welcome to give it to yourselves, technically. It's good to be together today. Let's do this morning's prayer if you'll join me. The God that we know when we see hope and love and faith, whatever that is that keeps you going, be with us on this day. And hold us as we are trying to build this world we've always dreamed of. Help us to find joy that might be hiding in small places. Help us to find it even if it seems like it isn't there anymore. Help us to make space for all that we love. Help us to do the work on our own hearts so that we can help heal others. And help us to know that this world is better because each of you are here. May you know peace. May you know love. Amen. We light the third candle for joy at the end.
Okay. Because by Rosemary Watola Traum. So I can't save the world. Can't save even myself. Can't wrap my arms around every frightened child. Can't foster peace among nations. Can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I will practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry. And sometimes, daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of trying? But today the invitation is clear to be ridiculously courageous in love, to open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway, to take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance, to feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open, to love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it.
And of course, that was our third candle for joy, the theme of this week. We have a memorial service planned for this Thursday for a longtime member of this church, Kathleen Kreidler. That will be at 6 o'clock. And then we have 2 cards for you to sign. The first is wishing a good recovery to Wendy Garnier, who just had surgery Monday morning. So we're going to have a thinking of you card for her. And if you would place a stone, I should have warned you about that earlier. We found out that Shirley Peak, a member of this church, has a new granddaughter. And so we are welcoming her into this world. This ritual we have is open to everybody, visitor, member, online alike. If you're online, type right into the chat. If you are in person, we invite you to come forward either along the west or the east wall take a stone, let it represent whatever you're carrying or holding, whatever you want to let go of. It's whatever your work is. We now invite those who wish to come forward as we place stones. And we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is the symbol of the power of love.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
So, reading from The Battle for Christmas by Stephen Nussenbaum. In early modern Europe, roughly between the years 1500 and 1800, the Christmas season was a time to let off steam and to gorge. It is difficult today to understand what seasonal feasting was like. For most of you, good food is available in sufficient quantity year-round. But early modern Europe was a world of scarcity. The availability of fresh food was seasonally determined. Late summer and early fall would have been a time of fresh vegetables, but December was the season for fresh meat. Animals could not be slaughtered until the weather was cold enough to ensure that the meat would not go bad. Any meat saved for the rest of the year would have to be preserved by salting. December was the last month when the year's supply of beer and wine was ready to drink. And for farmers, this period marked the start of a season of leisure. Little wonder, then, that this was a time of celebratory excess. Excess took many forms. Reveling could easily become rowdiness, lubricated by alcohol. Making merry could edge into making trouble. Christmas was a season of misrule, a time when ordinary behavioral restraints could be violated with impunity. It was part of what one historian has called the world of carnival. Christmas misrule meant that not only hunger, but also anger and lust could be expressed in public. Often people disguised themselves as animals or cross-dressed, thus operating under protective cloak of anonymity. The Puritans understood much of the seasonal excess that took place at Christmas was not merely chaotic disorder, but behavior that took a profoundly ritualized form. Most fundamentally, Christmas was an occasion when the social hierarchy itself was symbolically turned upside down in a gesture that inverted designated roles of gender, age, and class. During the Christmas season, those near the bottom of the social order acted high and mighty.
How can you have joy at a time like this? That's a fundamental question that Advent asks us to contemplate. How can you be excited about the birth of a child when a tyrant like Herod is ruling over the land? How can you be excited? How can you be glad that the very next verse in Matthew after the Nativity is the massacre of the innocents? All in an attempt for Herod to not lose his power when he hears that the Messiah is coming. How are you able, right after the death of a spouse or a family member or a friend, how are you able to be at this party or this parade or to be out running or laughing or any other thing? Aren't you supposed to be grieving the right way? And the right way is the way that I have decided without telling you you're supposed to grieve after death. How come you are exhausted and worried and anxious after the birth of a child? It's supposed to be joyous. Why aren't you smiling more? This juxtaposition, the question of joy amidst heartbreak or heartbreak amidst joy, these are the questions to contemplate during Advent. So here's what we're going to do today. This sermon is in 3 parts. This first one is introduction to the concept, or at least the way I'm taking joy. It's also our last chance to talk about any of the Christmas stuff, like the Nativity or the issues of the season, because we're heading, pretty heavy into the ritual part of the season where we're just doing the pageant, we're just doing Christmas Eve. Part 2 of this sermon is going to be about Harriet Tubman and reproductive justice, and then part 3 is going to be a bathroom full of glitter. We're good? I wrote it, we got to go with it. So another thing that I didn't realize until we put together the slides, I only selected readings from older white men who have a little resemblance to Santa Claus. Robin, can you go back one slide just in case anyone didn't see who Nussbaum was? All right, just see if you catch a theme. I didn't realize that until Allison put together the slides. I think we here in Louisiana are pretty familiar with the traditional Christmas as was described in the earlier in the earlier reading, because historically it was a time of mass celebration when you would get drunk, dress in different genders, play with costumes, celebrate in the streets. We just do it a little later here. When the Puritans left or were kicked out of England, they came to America certain to unlearn this pagan holiday. You see, they had started reading the Bible, so in the old Catholic days, the priest's job was to read the Bible, not the parishioners. So once the people started reading the Bible, they started looking in it and discovering things were and were not in there. And these Puritans realized that there was a lot of this over-the-top Christmas celebration. It just wasn't there. In fact, we have Christmas when we have Christmas. We have some of the rituals when we have some of those rituals because it overlaps with Saturnalia. And as these Puritans colonized America, they forbid the celebration of Christmas. There are still slivers of this trend throughout white New England, the sort of no celebration, all seriousness, all work. Sort of that's how we survive here in the winter. And also remember that we trace our roots of this faith back to some of the churches that were originally those white Puritan churches. Now, the Universalists always recognized Christmas. or at least the importance of it. Way back in the day, they would do their ordinations, baby dedications or baptisms, building dedications, installations, all of those things would happen on Christmas Day. In the early 1800s, white Congregationalists started becoming more and more theologically liberal. To remind you, the opposite of a theological liberal is a fundamentalist, and this is independent of any religion. So a liberal Catholic is someone who would say, this is, I believe in the sacraments, I believe in the Trinity, but that is my belief. Whereas a fundamentalist atheist would say, there is no God, and if you tell me there's a God, you're wrong. Right? So any religion can have a liberal or a fundamentalist within it. So I know that most black people and women and LGBT folks were not welcomed into a lot of the American story. I know that the Wampanoag and the Massachusetts are the ones who lost their land and lives in this story. And I know that often the poor did not have access. But for the few of you who are left, picture yourself in one of these white New England congregations. They're Congregationalist, and slowly over time, you notice the congregation getting more and more theologically liberal. Less and less comfortable with that rigid, puritanical view of an angry, punishing God. You start paying more and more attention to the story of Jesus rather than a lot of the more Armageddon-y, angry stuff. You especially start paying attention to the story of his birth. Your minister starts mentioning that one Unitarian church with that German minister who brought the tree in. You start using this time of emptiness, a lack of food, a time of sadness, and it becomes a time to be together, to celebrate, and to remember that hope is coming. Now, it wasn't the Unitarians alone. Do y'all know the other religion that really pushed Christmas? It rhymes with Panglicans. The Anglicans, yes, this is a very... But us and the Anglicans were the ones in the 1800s who really pushed Christmas back into the American consciousness. So many of the hymns you sing, many of the rituals you may recognize, those come out of churches that are now Unitarian Universalist churches. And then one last thing I couldn't figure out how to wedge into here. The four Gospels disagree on the nativity story. Mark is the oldest. Jesus shows up as a full-grown adult. Luke has 3 shepherds. That's it. And Matthew has the Magi, or the 3 wise men. But ironically, the 3 wise men were tricked by Herod into being spies for him. So even though we're doing the pageant next week where we sort of mush all of these stories together, they're not all in that same scripture. Does that make sense? They're just not there. In one of them, I believe, and I'd have to do a little more of my own remembering, but Joseph decides that Mary was told by God that she was pregnant by God. But in the other, it's different. Like they just don't agree at all. So it's important to know that these scriptures are different. And because of how Christmas works, we've run out of time to work on unpacking that. So if you wanted to have done that, I guess I should have done it last week. So all of this ties together to say that it's a long-standing tradition of Christmas that it is a very difficult, that this is a very difficult time, and it is one that is infused with joy and celebration, despite of what. Let me put it this way: there has always been a need for joy and celebration at this time of year, and even though many of this religion's ancestors tried hard to squash it out, it still shows up. There's something, I think, innate in this time of year that calls for celebration and calls for hope. So that's part one. I don't have a transition to the offering. I do want to say we are trying to close out 2024. If you've not paid up on your pledge, we're going to send out statements to the whole congregation, but please go ahead and try to pay up so we can know how we're doing financially. And then if you have not pledged for the next year, please do that so we can put together our budget. And we are halfway through the year, and this whole month we are sharing with VOTE, which is Voice of the Experience. This is an advocacy group for people who have been released from prison. And it is instrumentally important especially now that the legislature seems to be dedicated to throwing more and more people in jail. So I'll ask you to give very generously as this morning's offering is gratefully given and received. Any of y'all have one of those, the whole family gets sick, so you decide to pop out a crown and have to get it put back in and then have the doorknob fall off and then have to call the fire department to let your kid out of the room kind of weeks? Me neither. That was just Monday and Tuesday. So anyway, welcome to Christmas. That's the subtext of me trying to tell you how to find joy. Let me write that down. Okay, so in May, I was at a reproductive justice conference in New Orleans. The organization is called Sacred. It was founded intentionally. Actually, Kathy and I were there together. You didn't know I was going to talk about this, did you? It's Christmas.
I'm curious what you'll say.
Me too. She said she's curious what I'll say. This organization was founded to be intentionally interfaith, to combine the justice work of many religious and secular folks who are committed to the 4 goals of reproductive justice. For those who don't know, the 4 goals are the right to have children, the right to not have children, the right to bodily autonomy, and the right for children to be safe and healthy. One of the main conveners and at least 2 of the members of the board are Unitarian Universalist ministers. While this is an interfaith organization, it has deep Unitarian Universalist roots. Unfortunately, it was created right before the shutdowns of 2020, but Sacred was founded and funded specifically to convene a gathering of religious folks who are doing reproductive justice work. They had to wait almost 4 years to finally have that convening in person. But they did it. And they picked Louisiana as their first place to meet. That's right, they went to the heart of where in this country women, and especially black women, do not have access to safe reproductive choices. And they decided to have their convention at the hotel on the corner of Canal Street and Bourbon Street, which was the strangest juxtaposition I have ever experienced in a conference in my entire life. A little aside, I asked the woman who worked at the front desk what it was like to work there. And she said the most frustrating part was the number of guests who come downstairs to file noise complaints. Oh, it gets better. And then they say, the poor person who worked at the front desk says, "I'm sorry, I can't control the noise on Bourbon Street at 10 o'clock on a Friday." And they say, "Well, I'll call the cops." and I will file a noise complaint. And they have to say, I'm sorry, I don't think the New Orleans police are going to show up on a Friday night to a hotel on Bourbon Street and take you seriously about a noise. Anyway, online people or those who are local but haven't been there, Bourbon Street by design is noise. And the police don't care. Anyway, so that is the backdrop for us to do the work to contemplate the reality that those who are trying to be safe in this world, to have autonomy over their bodies, to be able to have a say about the reproductive choices, at a time that it feels under the most attack that I can remember in my lifetime. This is the backdrop that they chose to do their work. And in a segue that many of you may not see coming, the expert that they brought in as their keynote was someone who was an expert who studied the narcolepsy of Harriet Tubman. Now, I am no expert on Harriet Tubman's sleeping cycles. I am sorry, I should have told you that when you hired me, but I'm not. But apparently, when Harriet Tubman rescued people, periodically, at very strange times, she would just go to sleep. Sometimes it was in the middle of the day, sometimes it was in the middle of the night. Some academics believe her success in rescuing people was because she wasn't predictable. If you are the police tracking freed people, you are guessing they're going to walk hard and fast during the day and they're going to sleep at night. You're guessing they're going to use fire to keep warm. You're guessing a whole bunch of things based on predictable human behavior. And especially in this country, where especially white people are taught that the most important value is a strong, exhaustive work ethic. One where you prioritize productivity over your own health and well-being and listening to your body. And if you are trying to track freed people, you will expect that they will work hard all day, not sleep very much, and you will be able to predict their patterns. But because Harriet Tubman, maybe by choice, maybe by force, maybe by divine intervention, because there's some research on that as well, but part of the reason that Harriet Tubman may have been so successful is she slept when she needed to sleep. They had this academic as the keynote because there is a religious imperative to have time for joy and for rest in the midst of exhausting social justice work. One of the best things that this church does about our memorial services, and something that shows like The Walking Dead get wrong, and there's more modern examples, but because of where I am with having kids, I have not watched any Armageddon media lately. But one of the things that we get right and Walking Dead gets wrong is that it is okay to laugh amidst tragedy. Almost every memorial service that I have ever been to, when the service lets the fullness of the person come out, there is laughter with the tears. That is how we grieve. There are waves of sadness, waves of joy, weird conflicting emotions. TV shows about Armageddon and about the apocalypse, about terrible things, where there is not persistent humor, joy, laughter, they are written by people who do not fully understand the human condition. All of this is to say that you are built to find joy. You are built to take care of your body. You are built to love this life. You are built to be with other people. And that same cacophony of feelings you may experience this time of year, that's all a part of it too.
Reading from It Came Upon a Unitarian Midnight Clear by Ken Sawyer. Unitarian minister, the Reverend Edmund Hamilton Sears, wrote It Came Upon a Midnight Clear in 1849. Sears was the minister of a small congregation in Wayland, Massachusetts. We don't know where the carol was first performed, nor do we know what tune they sang, since the one to which we sing it now wasn't written until the next year by a New York organist named Richard Storrs Willis. Sears' words are both beautiful and powerful. The message is grounded in the first verse of the biblical past. It becomes prophetic in the last verse, which raises yet again the hope of a time to come of peace on earth. But it is most strikingly put in his third verse. And man at war with man hears not the love song which they bring, or hush the noise, ye men of strife, and hear the angels sing. Sears' song is remarkable for its focus not on Bethlehem, but on his own time and on the ever-contemporary issue of war and peace. Written in 1849, it has long been assumed to be Sears' response to the just-ended Mexican-American War. Sears' pacifism would take second place to his commitment to abolishing slavery in the Civil War, but his carol remains repeated all over the world every year. Probably more than any other Christmas carol, it talks about today, his day or our day. It says that the call to peace and goodwill to all is as loud as any other day as it was on the midnight of old, if we would but listen in solemn stillness. This point of view can be disconcerting to some Christians who note that the angel's song doesn't have anything particular to do with Jesus, who is never mentioned. In some denominations' hymn books, the last verse has been rewritten to give Jesus the larger role. Ironically, Sears was considered theologically conservative by other Unitarians in his day. Of all the carols that use the Christian story and its language and images, none lifts up a universal human hope more beautifully than Edmund Hamilton Sears did, singing of the perennial hope of peace. And now, please stand in body or spirit as we sing, "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear."
splendors fling, and the whole world gives back the sound which now the angels sing.
I do have to chuckle that Nathan gave me the reading about glitter. This is from the Reverend Robert Fulgham, who you may know from his book, Everything I Always Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. This is a story about his son, Sam.
Kathy, what religion was he?
He was Unitarian Universalist. Thank you for reminding me. And, yep, another old white man with a white beard. Thank you. So he writes, when his son Sam was 3 years old, he attended the Little School of Seattle, which was held in the basement of a church, and they had a storage room for all of their art supplies in the front of the women's restroom. Sam discovered this treasure trove one morning late in November. There was a king-size canister of red glitter. Yep, upside down, over his head, all over the restroom, down the hall, around the corner, and into the director's office. But before anybody could say, oh my God, what a mess, Sam, age 3, sang out, hands in the air, laughter on his face, you know what? There's Christmas in the bathroom. There is Christmas in the bathroom, and therein lies the message. Beauty, said the ancients, is in the eye of the beholder, and Christmas is and ever will be found where it is looked for, most often close by, almost always underfoot, hidden away in the cupboards of our lives, waiting to be rediscovered in a rebirth of wonder, waiting to be dumped over our hard heads like blessing oil, waiting to be scattered like red glitter on the walls and hallways of dark December. Christmas will be found in closeted memories, visions, hopes, fears, half-forgotten songs, and muddled stories of a child from long ago, and in the story of a child named Sam. Christmas will be found, even in bathrooms, by those who know how to see.
I asked a bunch of colleagues where they find inspiration when they're preaching about joy each Christmas, and that was the number one response, that story. I know we don't really have basements down here, but I encourage you to picture the dankest, least lit place possible. I'd like for you to picture the times in your life or someone else's life where there is no joy that you can find. Picture the times where you might feel helpless or hopeless. And while I'm not someone who, at least right now in my point in development, can really celebrate children making a mess or destroying things as insightful, please take the reading as a metaphor. He said, most often close by, most always very underfoot, hidden away in the cupboards of our lives, waiting to be rediscovered in a rebirth of wonder, waiting to be dumped on our heads like blessing oil, waiting to be scattered like red glitter on the walls and hallways of our, of our dank, dimly lit, sad Decembers. Joy and love are all around us. It's okay to be disgusted with the world. It's okay to be exhausted with your family. It's okay, not my family, I mean like extended family and whatever. Let me mark that. Look, I've got like the minister's list of all the things that you're going to have, right? Like you're going to worry about depression or addiction or diagnosis. Or, you've got the like 30 and you pull 4 or 5 so that enough people feel included. And I'm thinking about like you get together in the big meal and anyway. It's okay to love your family exactly as they are. It's okay I can't transition this, Lee. Help me, please. All right, let's start over. Joy and love are all around us. It's okay to be disgusted with the world. It's okay to have whatever feelings with your family you need to. It is okay for you to dread the next few weeks or months, and it is okay for you to not find the joy. Because this may not be the time for you to find the joy, but my theological response, the God question, is the promise that the glitter is there with you somewhere. Kathy?
Somewhere, metaphorically.
Glitter also never leaves. So it's a good metaphor. Also, Robin, one of these is echoing pretty remarkably. The joy of this, not that one. All right. The joy of the season and of this life is hidden in the small things and the big things. And I believe sometimes we can't find it, and sometimes we have to just wait until we can. And sometimes just be there with the people until they can find it again. But most importantly, be there together with each other. These next few weeks, Unitarian Universalists from all over the world will be planning for celebrations of the idea that hope is right around the corner. And it's not going to come anytime soon, and it's going to be exhausting, and it's also going to be great. We will be celebrating the rebirth of life amidst death. We will be celebrating the rebirth of hope amidst empire and oppression. So please keep your hearts open and keep your hearts and eyes open to all of the places where joy may show up, where it has absolutely no business being in. Let it in. Let it have a drink. Let it have a bite to eat. Don't shoo it out the door too quickly. Enjoy the gift of us being together. Amen. Let's sing.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why these songs of joy and cheer? What great blindness did you see? What glad tidings did you hear? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. See him in a manger laid, whom the angels praise above. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid, while we raise our hearts in love. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
This December, the leaves are falling, and it's going to be 80 degrees. It's a happy and a sad and a weird time. Enjoy all of it. Go in peace. Go in love. Amen.